Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas facing increased calls for impeachment from lawmakers on Capitol Hill. Republicans in purple districts are feeling the pressure as illegals trek into the U.S. at record rates.
Our next guest has gone toe-to-toe with the DHS head in the past, and now he's calling to take away his salary until he fulfills his oath.
Texas Congressman Chip Roy joins us now. Congressman, great to have you on the program. It's
good morning, y'all. Great to be on.
Interesting and good that so much attention has been focused on Alejandro Mayorkas and potentially, perhaps, some accountability. And not to be a pessimist, Congressman, but I do want to ask you this. Let's say that the goals were accomplished and Mayorkas were impeached. Would that change anything? Because the policies come, don't they, from his boss? They come from Joe Biden.
Well, there's no question that President Biden bears the responsibility for the chaos at the border. And, of course, what does he do? He hops on an airplane and flies to Japan, even while he then claims that the sky is falling, that there's going to be default on our debt. They're profoundly unserious about the problems facing our nation. But Alejandro Mayorkas is the tip of the spear. This is a guy who stood up and lied. He lied to the American people about Border Patrol agents, the people who report to him, claiming that they were whipping Haitian migrants and saying it was systemic racism. He knew that was a lie. He lied to me under oath. He lied to me. He said they have operational control of the border, and then he just dismisses it in subsequent hearings. He has a duty to enforce the law, and he's blatantly disregarding that duty, and American citizens are dying. I met with 3 fentanyl moms just 2 weeks ago, 3 of the dozens, hundreds actually, of fentanyl moms that I've met with over the last 2 years who've lost their children and loved ones to fentanyl. Fentanyl pouring across our border, being promoted by China and dangerous cartels while this administration ignores it. Enough. Of course we should impeach him. I can't say what the Senate's going to do. The Senate and the president, they don't want to defend this country. But we're the House, we're led by Republicans, and we should impeach Mayorkas.
Our banner below you says gain steam. You say we should. You point out the House does have control. What is the likelihood? What is of leadership in the House saying we agree with you? Let's move it.
I think there's some considered movement going on. A few of the guys that have been a little more questioning whether we should or shouldn't do it recognize that when you have somebody that's a cabinet official who lies to the American people, endangers the American people, and disregards his oath of the Constitution, that is why high crimes and misdemeanors exist. A breach of the public trust, if you go back and read the founders. So I think we're heading in that direction. I think we should do it this week. But I certainly hope we will get there over the next couple of months. And I'm encouraging my Republican colleagues to do so. The American people need to see us fight for them. They need to see us stand up when you've got an administration ignoring the law. Now we've got chaos at the border. We still have 4,000 a day. We had 200,000 in April. And thank goodness, Governor Abbott and Texans have DPS down at the border with razor wire doing the job that the Border Patrol agents aren't allowed to do by this administration. They want to, but they're not allowed to. And thank God governors like Governor DeSantis are sending support in the form of National Guardsmen and their own law enforcement to help Texas deal with what the federal government should do.
Yeah, there's dozens of satellite offices along the border to just keep processing. That's one of the reasons why they can claim that there's a decrease. They're just continuing the processing and speeding that up. You know, one of the people who brought the attention on the border and said we could actually fix it and did it was Donald Trump. And he said it with the wall. It was very unpopular when he did it. But you're supporting Ron DeSantis. Talk to us about how you made that decision, because I know that you did like Donald Trump.
Yeah, I was a big fan of the America First agenda. President Trump took on the swamp, and the swamp bit back. And I think a lot of it's been unfair. The Durham report of what we saw was absolutely mind-boggling. The FBI weaponized against the American people. But I think we need to go forward in a direction with a governor that has shown that he can serve, first of all, for 8 years, but he has shown that he can win a broad coalition. He won by 1.5 million votes. He won 62% of Hispanic voters. He won 50% of single female voters. Showed that you can take on the corporate establishment and a vision that recognizes that success is attainable. It's something that you can do if you seek to do it. But you got to build a coalition to make that happen. And Governor DeSantis is a friend, a proven conservative. And look, I think he's showing day by day what you can do. This legislative session in Florida has been extraordinary. Go down the checklist of what they've done. Universal school choice, a booming economy. They've got strong, immigration and border security measures like E-Verify and making sure that they are enforcing the laws in Florida. So I think this is the leadership we need and can serve 8 years to carry this country forward, to beat back the swamp and take it back from the establishment.
It's all good stuff down in Florida, but he's got to get past Trump and his base in the process. We shall see. Chip Roy, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Congressman.
Thanks, guys.